All right, hello Internet. What I have for you tonight is a crash course in immersive engineering. So this is everything that you're going to need to know to get started in immersive engineering in Minecraft 1.12. The very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find yourself some grass, and you're going to want to break this grass until you have at least one set of industrial hemp seeds. More is better, but one is enough. You're probably going to end up with the pocket full of these just setting up clearing space for your farm. So once you have some, you're going to want to go ahead and throw them down, add them to your farm, get them growing. They will eventually grow up into these 2-block tall industrial hemp plants. You're going to want to then you're going to want to do is break the top of these plants, and that will get you hemp fibers and more hemp seeds. You're going to want to hold on to both of those, throw them in a chest. You can replant the seeds to expand your farm out a little bit more if you want to, but you're definitely going to want to hold on to the fibers, collect as much of them as you can. You can also mix your hemp fibers into a sugarcane farm. They will break exactly the same as sugarcane will. However, you do want to keep in mind that industrial hemp will not grow to 3 blocks. So if you have a farm like this set up with the observers on top, you will need to have some sugarcane there that will grow up to 3 blocks that will cause the hemp fibers to break. Then you simply collect them into a chest, and you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that you've got a decent supply of the fibers. So you probably want a bigger farm than what I have set up here. Once you've got that going and you've got that growing and getting ready to go, you're going to want to dig down into your mine and start finding copper. Now, depending on what mods that you have available to you, you're going to have a bunch of different options for different kinds of copper. At the very least, you should have Immersive Engineering copper, and this is what the block looks like in 1.12. I believe the block texture does change in some of the later versions. So if you're playing in those versions, you'll want to look in JEI to get an idea of what the block texture looks like. In any case, once you've got yourself a good supply of copper ore, you're going to want to smelt that down into copper ingots or copper blocks, however you want to store it, and get that into your chests. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and make yourself a book and a lever, throw those into a crafting grid together, and that will get you your engineer's manual. And this is going to be pretty much your holy Bible for this mod. It's going to walk you through absolutely everything about how to make all the machines and different items. It's also going to give you information about any additional modules that might be available depending on other mods that you have installed or anything like that. The next thing that you're going to want to make is an engineer's hammer. The way that you make that is 2 sticks, 2 pieces of iron, and some string. It is important to note that if you have ex nihilo installed in your mod pack, 2 sticks and 2 iron is an ex nihilo hammer. You need to make sure that you put that string there because you cannot use engineer's hammers with ex nihilo and ex nihilo with engineers. So you do need the engineer's hammer. So if your later projects aren't working, make sure that you have the correct hammer. You'll also want to make yourself a pair of wire cutters. Wire cutters are really easy to make. They are just 2 sticks and a piece of iron, and that will get you your engineer's wire cutters. Next thing you're going to want to do is head out into the world and begin collecting yourself as much clay and sand as you can get your hands on. You're going to need to get yourself at least 72 clay balls. You're going to take half of those and keep them as clay. You're going to turn the other half into bricks, so you have 36 of each. You will also need 9 sandstone blocks. Once you have all of that, you can go ahead and throw them into a crafting grid in this configuration right here. So your sandstone is going to go there, your bricks go on the directions, and your clay goes in each of the corners. Each recipe there is going to give you 3 of the coke bricks, and you're going to need a grand total of 27 coke bricks. So you're going to need to do this recipe 9 times. Once you have all 27, you're going to put them down in the world in a 3x3 cube. So it's going to be 3 across, 3 deep, and 3 high. Once you have that built, you're going to go ahead and right-click the centermost block with your engineer's hammer, and that will create the coke oven multi-block. Once you have the coke oven built, you can then go ahead and pull up the UI, and you're going to want to go ahead and throw some coal in here. I recommend using blocks, but you can use regular pieces of coal if you prefer. You can also use wood in here. It will make charcoal, but what you're looking for right now is actually this creosote oil. Coal, whether in block form or in ingot form, or wood in this furnace, will create creosote oil for you. The next thing that you're going to want to start working towards is getting power generation up and running. Immersive engineering is kind of unique in these mods, and that power generation can happen very early on if you're willing to go for it. In order to get the very basic power generation system up and running, you're going to need a kinetic dynamo. In order to make the kinetic dynamo, you're going to have to start here. So you're going to want to take your engineer's hammer, throw it in a crafting grid with a copper ingot, and that will get you a copper plate. You're going to need 8 of those in total. Take your copper plate, throw it in a crafting grid with your wire cutters, and that will get you a copper wire. You're also going to need 8 of those, so it's 1-to-1 for this recipe. Go ahead and turn all your plates into wires. You are then going to take your wires, throw them into a crafting grid with a stick, and that will get you 4 low voltage wire coils, and you're going to need 2 sets of that for a total of 8 of those. So you're going to be using up all of your copper that you've done through this whole recipe. You're then going to take your 8 copper wire, or your 8 low voltage wire, and you're going to throw them into a crafting grid with an iron ingot in the middle, and that will get you a copper coil block. That copper coil block, throw that into a crafting grid along with 2 pieces of redstone and some iron ingots, and that will get you your kinetic dynamo. Place the kinetic dynamo somewhere in the world, and then it's time to work on how you're actually going to generate the power. The easiest way by far to do that is by using a windmill. The windmill is created by using treated planks in this configuration along with some treated sticks. You make the treated sticks from the treated planks in the same way that you make normal planks. And in order to make the treated planks, you're going to take any kind of wood, place it into a crafting grid as if you're making a chest, but then take a bucket of the creosote oil that you've been collecting here in the center of it, and that will give you treated wood planks. You can then begin crafting your windmill blades. You're going to need a total of 8 of those. You're going to need to repeat this recipe 8 times. Once you have all 8 windmill blades, place them into a crafting grid in this configuration here, along with an iron ingot in the middle, and that will give you your basic windmill. Your basic windmill can then be placed on your kinetic dynamo. The front of the dynamo is the spot with the black circle on it. That is where your windmill is going to attach. Just go ahead and right-click that on there. You will need a sizable space around the windmill cleared. If your windmill does not start spinning after a few seconds of being in the world, go ahead and clear some more blocks around the sides of it, as well as clearing them from in front of the windmill. Blocks behind the windmill don't seem to make any difference. It also no longer makes a difference what Y value your windmill is placed at. It will generate the same amount of power down here near the ground as well as up near the build limit. To get more power out of your windmill, you will need to make windmill blades. In order to make windmill blades, you need to make tough fabric. In order to make the tough fabric, you are going to take 8 of your hemp fibers that you've been collecting out of your farm, put a stick in the center of it, and that will give you a tough fabric. Collect 7 tough fabrics, place them in this configuration here, and that will give you a windmill sail. You will need 8 windmill sails in order to finish maximizing your windmill. However, they can be placed on the windmill one at a time. So as you collect up enough hemp fiber to create the tough fabric, to create the sail, you can place them on one at a time. Just take your sail in your hand like this. Come up to your windmill and right click on the center block. That will add these nice looking sails to the windmill, and each one will cause it to spin slightly faster until it reaches its top speed with all 8 sails on it. Another option, if you don't want to go with the windmill route, is you can build a water mill. Water mill is a little bit more complicated, requires a little bit more resources, but the basics of it are the same. You're going to need to place the treated sticks and treated planks in this configuration. That will give you a water wheel segment. You will need 4 water wheel segments along with a steel ingot in the center, and that will give you a water wheel. Water wheel then attaches to the kinetic dynamo in the same fashion as the windmill does. You can just barely see the hole there in the front. The water wheel does need to have water pouring onto the top of it. It does not actually need to be submerged in water, but it looks better this way. As long as the water is pouring onto the front of it, and you want to have it on the back half of the water wheel in order for it to turn, and you can place up to 3 individual water wheel segments per kinetic dynamo. This will then begin generating power for you. Once you have access to the nether and have found yourself a blaze spawner somewhere, you will be able to build a blast furnace. The blast furnace is very useful, and it allows you to turn your coal coke and iron into steel, which is how you would get your steel or your water mill. In order to build this, you're going to need to essentially repeat the recipe from the coke oven, but this time it is going to be nether bricks in place of the clay and blaze powder in place of the sandstone. Each recipe will likewise give you 3 blast bricks, and you will need a total of 27 blast bricks. Those are then placed in a 3x3x3 cube, and the centermost block is right-clicked with your engineer's hammer. You then place your coal coke or charcoal in the lower block, place your iron in the top, and allow it to start working. It will generate steel and slag. You do need to remove the slag from your furnace periodically. If that fills up, your furnace will stop running. And that's basically it. That is the basics of immersive engineering. That'll get you up and running and get you started on all of the other fun things that you can do with this mod. And like I said before, your engineer's manual is going to walk you through everything else that you could ever want to know about this mod and get you going on that. The first thing that I would recommend building once you've got the basics going is going to be your metal press. This will let you save on resources going forward. As you may have noticed, using this method is not only going to damage your hammer and your wire cutters, but it's also fairly inefficient in that it takes 1 ingot and turns it into 1 copper wire. If you use a metal press and put your copper ingots through there with the wire press mold, you will get 2 wire per ingot. It'll save you a little bit on resources, and that's true for all of the other wire types that are in the mod. If you use this method to do it, it is a 1-for-1. If you use a metal press, it is 1-for-2. So that's basically it. That is the basics of immersive engineering. If that helps you out any, go ahead and hit the like button on the video, share it with your friends, leave me a comment down below. If you want to see any other mods have a basic crash course in them, let me know down in the comments what I can do for you. But otherwise, until then, have yourselves a wonderful day and happy Minecrafting.